यंकरवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतम् पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूत भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। So let's go ahead. I hope that if not all, some of you are following the suggestion that I had made at the beginning of the vision to promise of Vedanta, and that is that we will start with the very basics and step by step look at all of the important keys to understanding Vedanta, and then gradually we will become more specialized, more advanced as we go along, and that this can lend itself to your building your own personal narrative, that you can either simply just use it for your own purposes, to write something on a piece of paper, or to teach some others. So that's the kind of the general principle that I'm following, and I hope that at least some of you, if not all of you, are following the same procedure. So, as I mentioned, that we will slowly get more advanced. So today we will take what I would call a more advanced step towards understanding the keys to Vedanta. And so that has to do with the fact about the word Advaita, about the concept, not just the word, but the very concept, the very what does it really mean, Advaita? Advaita, as you know, means non-duality, singularity, not the essence of plurality, which is singularity. That's what Advaita means. So, as we begin to analyze what Vedanta is telling us about ourselves, an important step is to do viveka, as this is what we have been doing up to now, viveka between drik and drishya. And to do this viveka along the lines of thinking that the Shastra suggests to us. Right? And in the way what Shastra suggests to us to do this viveka is to see for ourselves that our flawed view of ourselves can be sorted out between the drishya which is changing and the drik which is not changing. So this is what the first step is. And this is what we have been trying to follow, and also to give it some bodies. So not just say it, but to understand exactly how what it means. So we've been seeing that drishya is, of course, changing, vinashi. It is jada. Jada means inert. So here, if I can just pause and give a commentary, an advanced commentary on the understanding of the distinction between jada and chaitana, between inert and sentient. Okay, so look at this analysis. So the distinction between jada and chaitana can be done in two levels of understanding. One is vyavaharika sat, and the other one is paramarthika sat. So vyavaharika sat means transactional reality, relative reality, and paramarthika sat means absolute reality. We have known all that. As you know, that's the analysis of sat is threefold. So one is the pratibhasika sat, which means subjective reality. Our own personal view of life. And we don't, it's not visible to others. We can keep it for ourselves. We don't have to express it. It's not visible to anyone. And this projects itself in the form of dreams, our thoughts, our personal attitudes, our conclusions, personal conclusions. This is all called pratibhasika sat. One which is very individualistic. This is one kind of sat. The other one is vyavaharika sat. Vyavaharika sat means that we have a certain view of the reality which is the same as the view of reality by others. So I also think this is a table and you also think this is a table. I also think that I am a human being and you also think I am a human being, and vice versa, etc. What the color of my skin is, what my age is approximately, is very visible and everybody can agree on that. There's nothing personal about it. So this is what is called vyavaharika sat, right? And the vyavaharika sat also, like pratibhasika sat, also keeps relative. There's no absoluteness about it. So for example, when you see someone, you can have a personal view of that person which is different from somebody else's personal view of that person. Very typical example is that if there is a man, then the children of that man look upon that person differently. The neighbor looks upon that man differently. The workers at the office look upon him differently. The tax authorities look at him differently. So there's different views of the same thing. This is all called vyavaharika sat, right? Then there is a paramarthika sat. And the Paramarthika Sat is distinguished by the fact that it never changes. Never. There's no question of, this is what is called Nirapeksha Sat. So the Pratibhasika and the Vyavaharika Sat are called Sapeksha Sat. Sa-apeksha means relative. Compared to what? When you say a good person, so the goodness of the person can only be done with respect to the badness of somebody else or less goodness of someone else. All relative. Absolute truth, on the other hand, does not depend on any other relativity. It is truth by itself. The only issue about the Paramarthika Sat is there something like that? And so, for the normal conduct of our lives, we do not come across Paramarthika Sat until it is pointed out by Vedanta. Then, even then, it is not obvious, but the more you look into it, you find that it really does have, becomes more real the more you look into it. This is called Paramarthika Sat. Okay, so now that we have defined, leave aside the Pratibhasika Sat, let's look at the Vyavaharika Sat and the Paramarthika Sat. And by the way, a lot of our analysis keeps this distinction in mind. Okay, so including the way we look at ourselves. So it's important for this filter, the two-stage filter to look at things is an important one to keep in mind. Okay, so let's go back to the distinction between Jada and Chetana, between inert and sentient. This distinction with respect to this filter of Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat. So let's look at that. In Vyavaharika Sat, as you know, this is, you can see this when I say this, you'll say, yes, this is true. The distinction between inert and sentient is based on whether the vastu that we are examining has sense organs or not. So in Vyavaharika Sat, the way to distinguish a Jada and sentient, Jada and Sat, Jada and Chetana, Chaitanya, Chetana. The way to distinguish them is based on, not the way to distinguish them, but it is based on, and therefore there is a way to distinguish it. Excuse me. Whether the vastu in question is equipped with sense organs or not. If a vastu like a table is not equipped with eyes, ears, nose, the sense of touch, and the mind, then it is Jada. But a vastu like an ant, a crawling little ant, that is equipped with these 5 sense organs, generally speaking. There are animal species that might be missing sight or some other. I'm sure there is such a variety of combinations if you really look into that. It is incredible. If I can make a small digression, I hope I can come back to, I will. I won't forget the main topic. But it was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine, a lady. In fact, she's my wife's sister-in-law. So when we were in Hawaii together on a family vacation, somehow the topic of dreams and sleep came up. And so I was telling them about the Vedantic view, which you know and you should know about this very well, that there is a very, because generally speaking, people don't understand what the purpose of dreams is. There's no unanimity about the purpose of dreams. But as you know very well, in Vedanta, the dreams play a very important role. And you know what that is. If you don't, then think about this very well, which is anything that Shruti says, it has to provide a proof for it. Right? Everything. This is the main distinction between Shastra, Vedic Shastra, and other schools of thought. Because the other schools of thought can simply say something when they'll say, if you ask them where is the proof, they'll say, well, you have to wait for the next life. There is a heaven and we cannot show it to you now because you don't qualify, but wait for it in the next life. I would be very interested if somebody would go to heavens and say, I was there and now I'm back and this is my experience. But we don't find anybody. So there's no proof, really. Vedanta is the only one that provides a proof. Because what is the proof? It says that anything that is an appearance, anything that you see is false. This is a premise. This is what the Shastra says. It is a flabbergasting statement. As we have said, our Swamis also say this. This is a very interesting thing. There is a clear distinction between a wise person and a foolish person. Because a foolish person says, because I see, therefore it must be real. And the wisdom consists of just the opposite, which says, if you see something, it must be false. And then it just doesn't leave it there. It actually goes through the principle of understanding why this is true. So the dreams play a very important role. Because in Vedanta, we say, the proof of the example is, this is what's called anumana. So in anumana means that if you have a proposition, then it must be proven by an example. And so the example that proves the proposition or preposition, that anything you see is false, is a dream. And then you extend it, so you prove it through the dream, but then you extend it to the waking state. And you say, just like the dream, which is an appearance, which means it is not true, the Jagrata Avastha is also an appearance. Therefore, you fill in the blanks now, please. I've given you all the aspects of the equation. You fill in the blanks. And you cannot say because it is an appearance, therefore it must be true. Because you're violating the very principle of thought. So therefore, under going back to that example is now over. So now we go back to what we were starting with, which is that in Vyavaharika Sat, the distinction between Jada and Chetana is the equipment of sense organs. That's how we say. You know, this is what happens sometimes. You find there's a black thing sitting on the carpet. And now you're not sure whether it's a bug or something that you dropped from a plate or something like this. So you're not sure. So what you do is you gingerly go close to it, either with a paper or pencil or with your finger. And if it suddenly moves, then you say, uh-oh, this is a bug. Otherwise, it just stays there and does nothing. So this is the basic distinction between Jada and Chetana in Vyavaharika Sat. In Paramarthika Sat, it is different. So this is what we have to really get acquainted with and understand. And this is very fundamental to the understanding of the Vedanta. This is one of the advanced keys to understanding Vedanta. I was just thinking that in this topic that we have taken up in the Sarasburg ashram, because Shuddhatma ji had asked me how would you like to call it? So I'd said the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And he said, yeah, that sounds good. So let's do it at essence. So this is what I think in the brochure it says that. I was thinking in the last day or so of changing the title. We may not be able to change it in the brochure, but we can at least change it for our own people and people that are coming there. And the topic I would like to rename it as Keys to Understanding Bhagavad Gita. This is really what it is all about. There are some things that are very subtle. They don't really make a deep, lasting impression on us, even though after we read it several times. That happens in life, particularly if the topic is not obvious. It requires a lot of subtlety. And the Bhagavad Gita is, of course, one of the most subtle, far-reaching truths of life, as Vedanta. And so there, if you wanted to really make a mark in understanding that, you need to know what the keys are. And so, how do you open? This is what Swami Dayanandaji's favorite word was, unfolding. It's kind of like it's layers and layers and layers of things. It's there, but you don't know how to get to the very core of it. And the way to do that is kind of like a Vedic temple. Because the Vedic temple, as you know, we have talked about this so far, is very much like a human body. So there is Annamaya Kosha, there is Pranamaya Kosha, there is Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, and then there is the Sanctum Sanctorum. So this is like a covering upon covering upon covering. And in order to get to the real place where is the Vigraha of the Devata that you're thinking about, you have to know how to get there. What are the keys to it? So the Bhagavad Gita is exactly the same way. And this is what we're doing. And this this way of doing it really became somewhat clearer to me when I was prepping for the October 2-day retreat that we had in Los Altos in last October. And I felt this was a good way to present a subject matter in a short amount of time. And by the way, it's interesting. I was talking to one of the students who's a teacher of Bhagavad Gita. She teaches Bhagavad Gita and so on. And I just casually asked one day, I said, have you ever, she was thinking of revising the curriculum and teaching it in a different way and all that, which is very good, excellent. But I asked her, I said, have you ever had a chance to look at Swamiji's introduction to the Gita home study program? She says, no, I've never seen that. So I suggested to her, please say that. And I've really now forgotten. I used to know that quite well. I haven't really read it recently. But it is a very comprehensive and relatively long introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, even before the first sloka of the first chapter. And I consider that to be keys to understanding Bhagavad Gita. So what I'm planning to do for this May 3rd retreat at Sailorsburg is developing a similar keys to understanding the Bhagavad Gita in a much shorter, because we don't have as much time. But I'll try to do the best I can to point what are the keys to understanding. And essentially, this is what we're doing here. This course is also an offshoot of the one that we had in the October retreat, which I felt was a good way to teach. I felt myself. This is whether I was able to communicate or not, that's a separate matter, but at least my objective, I felt good about that. This is the right way to teach. Right way to teach, not because this is to teach people who already have gone through a lot of study. This is a more advanced form. Anyway, coming back to this, so the distinction between Jada and Chetana in Paramarthika Sat is totally different. This is what we have to understand. And in a way, this is a start towards the next stage of understanding, which is, what is the next stage that I mentioned to you? Advaitatvam, Advaitam, non-duality. Because the first stage is the Viveka between Drik and Drishya. Now we have two entities, which is not Advaita, which is Dvaita, which is duality. There is a Drik, there is a Drishya, and they are kind of like facing each other. It's not Advaita. But the Advaita Vedanta that we are teaching is oneness. How is that possible? This is what we have to really understand. So, starting with today's class, we will now begin to put our foot into the understanding of Advaita. So, going back to, my basis is still the dual use of Vyavaharika Sat and Paramarthika Sat in understanding Jada and Chetana. So the Jada and Chetana and Vyavaharika Sat we have already gone through. What is it in Paramarthika Sat? And for what reason? So all of those, what I will tell you now, which needs to be backed up with some evidence, reasoning, explanation, understanding. They will have to all come slowly. But let me just tell you. So the distinction in Paramarthika Sat is the distinction of between Jada and Chaitanya in Paramarthika Sat is that in Paramarthika Sat, Jada is a Vastu. In fact, let me do the other way around. Chaitanya is a Vastu in Paramarthika Sat that has the following capability. What is the following capability? It knows everything and it knows itself. So, in some ways, this is exemplified by the sun or any other luminous body, right? And the Jada is exemplified by the moon. That's why sometimes you will see that on the forehead of Dakshinamurti there is a sun and a moon. And it is for different reasons, but one of the reasons is that it exemplifies both Chaitanya as well as Jada. And so from that perspective, what Chaitanya in Paramarthika Sat is an entity, a Vastu. So in the case of light, the example is the sun or any other star. That has the capability of lighting others. And lighting not selectively. Whatever comes, it lights up. Right? And not only that, it lights itself up. It is also, it doesn't even need to do that because it is the very glow of light, the very source of light. So there's no question whether it says, I'm lighting others, but I don't know what I am. In fact, this is the situation that we find ourselves. It's a very funny situation. Anyway, I'll come to it. Hopefully, I won't forget it in a little bit while. Let me complete my thought between Jada and Chaitanya. So the Chaitanya in Paramarthika Sat is one that is able to see and be aware of everything. And Jada is just the opposite. Opposite means what? Another thing. In Chaitanya, it is independently capable of lighting others. It doesn't depend on anything. That is the Swarupa of Chaitanyam. In Paramarthika Sat now, forget about the Vyavaharika Sat. In Paramarthika Sat, a Jada is a Vastu that has the ability to light up things in a limited way if it depends on the light of someone else. This is exactly what happens in the case of moon. On a dark night, The moon does have the ability to light up, but the light of the moon is not its own. It is in fact borrowed from the sun. And so this is what happens if the moon is not directly facing, then it becomes less and less effective in lighting others. So yes, it does light up, but in a very relative way, in a very dependent way. It's not its own source. That is the definition of jada in the case of Paramarthika Sat. Right? Now we can see the nature of the Atma. You can just see the nature of the Atma. Nature of the Atma is Chaitanya. So if you want to just do a very quick meditation, I won't even get up and change the lights and so on. It's okay. We'll just do it right here. Just look at this. Look at yourself. Look at, examine, think about, do a vichara on yourself. Don't you fulfill the requirements, the qualifications, the definition of Chaitanyam, absolute Chaitanyam. In Paramarthika Chaitanyam. You light up everything. You are naturally aware. Aware of what? It doesn't matter. Whatever appears near you, you are aware. Your awareness is unlimited. Because You are not dependent. You are not relying on anything for being aware. You are not limited by time. It is not as though you became aware at a certain age. You are not aware, limited by location. It is not as though you stop being aware when you go from one place to the other. You are not limited by any situation. It is not as though you are only aware when you are awake. Even when you switch situations, there is no effect on your awareness. You are not stopped by when there is nothing to see or to be aware of. As in deep sleep. You are aware of the fact that you see nothing. This shows you that awareness, Chaitanyam, is you. You are not contained anywhere. You are not within a body. The body is in your awareness. And you have an entirely different body which is in your awareness in a dream. So the awareness is not dependent on anything. It is you. And you are aware of whatever the cosmos appearance happens to be. The entire cosmos is in your awareness. The sun is not aware of you. You are aware of the sun. Whatever your configuration presents to you, configuration meaning the body and the mind. If the body is such that you cannot see behind you, that's not your limitation, it is the body's limitation. Whatever is presented before you, you are without effort aware of it. There's something amazing about you. No one can see you, but you can see everything. This is an incredible fact. There can therefore be only one Chaitanyam, one Chetanavastu, which is you, the Atma. There cannot be two Atmas. You are one Atma. And if there is another Atma, it cannot be Chaitanyam. It will be Jada. Because it will be dependent on you. This is an incredible fact. The Atma and Chaitanya is one and the same. You can see the truth of this. I know. I'm aware. I know. I know. I know. Shivoham. 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 Aham Shivaha. Chaitanya Vastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this Chaitanya Vastu, Atma, is the Chit Swarupaha. in the form of awareness, jnanam, knowledge, I know, pure knowledge, I know. Anything that comes, I know. Over and beyond anything, I know. Chit Swarupa. And the Chit Swarupa is also the Sat Swarupa. Just look at this beauty. Because just look at this. I, the Atma, Sat Swarupa, cannot be other than the Chit Swarupa. You know why? Because I would become a Jada Rupa. Right? I would become a Jada Rupa. That means I am not a Chit Swarupa. I am not Chaitanyam. And in Paramarthika Sat, there's only one Vastu which is Chaitanyam. And if I am not that, then I become Jada. I am not Jada. I am not inert. Either by Shruti or my experience. I'm not Jada. I'm alive. Not even alive, I'm aware. And so the Sat Swarupa must be Chit Swarupa. And also the Chit Swarupa must be Sat Swarupa. You know why? Because if it is not Sat Swarupa, it may become Asat Swarup. It may disappear. I cannot disappear. There is no way for Chaitanyam to disappear. We've already seen that in the meditation. You construct any condition, the only condition you can postulate, which is also false, is once I'm dead, I'll be gone. But you'll never be gone. That's exactly like saying, once I go to sleep, I'll be gone. If your body gives up and your body dies, you know what will happen? For a short amount of time, it will be like sleep. Because there's no body, there's no mind, there's no senses, nothing. But you are aware of nothing. Until your past vasanas and karmas fructify your body and mind as a baby. And then you will say, I'm a baby. I'm a toddler. I'm a child. I'm a same thing. You'll be aware. Your awareness hasn't gone anywhere. So even a postulation that I may become asat is wrong. Yet it cannot be. You cannot prove it. It is nonsensical. illogical. So the Chit Swarupa must be Sat Swarupa. This is what one has to understand. We don't even think about it. Satyam Jnanam. Sat Chit. Satyam Jnanam. Same thing. And Anantam. Ananda. Because any lack of Ananda comes from a stoppage, from a limitation. My inability to be something, to do something, becomes dukkha. But if there's no limitation, because there's no source of limitation, the time is in me. I am not in time. So time has no limitation for me. I am aware of time. I'm aware of yesterday, today, tomorrow. Whatever time it is, I'll be aware of it, independent of it. So there's no limitation of time. Is there a limitation of space? Will I disappear if I go someplace else? It'll be a new place, but I'll be aware of it. My awareness will not have any limitation. Any vastu will limit me. I'm independent of any vastus. Any object, not vastu, but an object. All objects are in me. Anantam. So then we can see that in Paramarthika Sat, so the essence of all this discussion is that if we were to look at, we have to enter into an understanding of Advaita, which we haven't done yet. But in order to enter a possibility of Advaita, the keys of understanding Advaita must be known to me. I must be able to open the keys of the door to Advaita. And what are the keys of Advaita? What are the keys of understanding? Understanding the distinction between Chaitanyam and Jada in Paramarthika Sat. And the Paramarthika Sat is the real me, independent of the avastha, any situation. I am in the situation. I am not the situation. I am in it. And I am the same one in any situation. Same awareness in any situation. And if that is the case, that is the Chaitanyam. That is the Paramarthika Satyam. Absolute Satyam. So this is a very interesting thing, that if there is Satyam, let's think about this. This is the key. These are one of the keys. You know, we talked about Paramarthika Sat, Vyavaharika Sat we all know, Pratibhasika Sat we all know, Paramarthika Sat we say, well, where is it? When we say that's absolute truth that does not change, our only question is, I kind of understand the the concept of it. But the only question in my mind is, are we just talking about an impossible concept which doesn't exist? Or can you show me something where I can see, yes, there is a Paramarthika Sat, a Sat. You leave the prefix Paramarthika, just say Sat. So, we saw that the one way to look at the ontology of Sat, of truth, is Asat, which means never there, Mithya, which is sometimes there, or Sat, which is always there. So this way you understand, okay, three things. But where is the Sat? Do you know something interesting, amazing? You are the Sat. The Atma is the Sat. Not you as a Jiva. I'm not foolish enough to say that. You're not foolish enough to see that. But you as the awareness, the Jnanam, you are the Sat. Can you ever get rid of yourself? Can you disprove it yourself? Just think about this. If there is any Paramarthika Sat, it has to be you. Just think about it that way. Because if it doesn't include you, it cannot be Paramarthika Sat. Here's something very simple to see, very profound, but should be obvious. If there is any Paramarthika Sat, it must be me. And my only problem is that I don't admit it. No, how can I be Sat? That's it. It's not as though it is not true. It's just that you refuse to acknowledge the truth. That's it. The day you refuse to acknowledge the truth, you have opened the keys to freedom. So now we are starting to get deeper into the understanding of what the Shastra is telling us, and we'll continue to explore these, what I would call them as keys to understanding of Vedanta. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If there is any Paramarthika, So interesting. So few people on Tuesday night. I only see 13 people. And I'm happy to talk to you, but I just hope that you are still following this whole class. And if you're not, then we need to think about something else. Certainly not a very popular class in terms of the number of people. But anyway, I'm happy that I had a chance to talk to you, and thank you.